Hello, and welcome to The Connecting Point. I am Dr. Marcy, your facilitator for this discussion today. This is the place where creators connect to inspire, share their ideas and stories, to transform the world through raw and unedited talk. And today, I was so happy to see this smiling face pop on because she has a marvelous testimony. This is Miss Tangie Rahming. So, Tangie, I've got to tell a little bit about the Connecting Point because that's the platform. I guess I'll go. Well, our Connecting Point was work, actually. We were colleagues in a school, in our school system, Atlanta Public Schools, by the way. And we just connected. So that is a major connecting point. We don't want to tell the whole thing yet, but we were colleagues at one time. And this beautiful person, she has a story to tell. And of course, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I didn't want this month to go by without acknowledging those people who know someone who has gone through the fight of breast cancer, or is going through it, or have gone through it themselves. So we want to talk about that and how creativity can be birthed out of something like having breast cancer. Okay. Right. Tangie, I don't know if I've ever told you, but I had that in my family as well. We're going to talk about that a little bit as we move forward. But can you, Tangie, I like the guests to give a little bit about who they are, where they're from, and where they are now.
All right. My name is Tangie Rahming. I am from Miami, Florida. I am of Jamaican and Bahamian descent. I'm currently a special education teacher for Atlanta Public Schools. And at the age of 35, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. That was May of 2016.
Okay, so that's a little bit about who she is, but you're going to find out.
Yes.
You're going to find out much more about Ms. Rahming. Well, we're going to talk about this journey. We're going to delve a little into it because so often as African-American women, we don't talk about these issues so that someone else can be encouraged. So let's start from the beginning, Tangie. You went for a normal mammogram, I suppose, or what happened?
Sure. I went for a normal mammogram maybe a couple of months prior to my diagnosis, and my gynecologist found nothing. It was routine and regular. I don't know, maybe a few weeks after that, I felt a lump under my left arm. I described the lump kind of like a Mike and Ike candy, a long nodule. And I am a special education teacher. I'm not sure if I mentioned that.
Yeah, you did.
But I coach, so I'm an interrelated teacher in that I provide specialized instruction in the general education setting. So I work collaboratively with a general ed teacher. So I'm always in a room with another teacher. And this particular day, I felt this lump, and I shared with my co-teacher, hey, I feel this lump under my arm. Do you mind feeling this and telling me what you think? And so she felt the lump under my arm, and she's like, yeah, that's weird. She's like, you probably should get that checked out. And amidst teaching, grading, life, I was concerned, puzzled, and about a week or so had transpired. And here I am again. My friend from work is saying, hey, what's up with that lump? And I'm like, yeah, girl, it's still there. And through that conversation and dialogue, I went to my primary care physician. I had Googled and saw that a lump under the arm, a raised nodule, was signs of some type of infection. And so I went to my primary care physician, not gynecologist this time, and they gave me some antibiotics. The doctor gave me some antibiotics. And then about 7 days later, came back in to follow up. Throughout the 7 days, and throughout taking the antibiotics, there was a lump that surfaced right at the top of my chest on that same side. And so as I'm going in for my follow-up, I said, hey, I think there's a lump in my boob. And the doctor just presses on it and he says, yeah, all right, let's go and get that checked out. He sends me immediately to get an ultrasound. And after the ultrasound, it was determined that it wasn't breast tissue. Whatever it wasn't breast tissue. And then he set up an appointment for me to get a biopsy. And so that took place about a week later. Got a biopsy. Nope, let me pause you there. I got the ultrasound, mammogram, ultrasound. And before I got the biopsy, there we go. Before I got the biopsy, someone asked me, Tangie, you have supplemental insurance? And I said, no, I never could understand what was going on with the commercial with the duck. Never could understand supplemental insurance because I knew I had regular insurance. And I said, no. Anyway, I spoke to someone and they stated that if I didn't have supplemental insurance, and if in fact this was cancer, you might need that supplemental insurance. And erroneously, I delayed because you have to have signed up and be a part of this policy for over a month. So instead of going right away to get my biopsy, even though I was told that whatever is inside of my breast is foreign tissue, I waited trying to make sure I qualified for supplemental insurance.
Wow.
If you don't have supplemental insurance, sidebar, good idea.
Yes, get it. Lord have mercy, get it.
And so I waited a month, not realizing, and I just underestimated cancer, what it was, what it meant. I knew that cancer happened to old white women, not me. And I delayed. And when I finally got my biopsy, I was diagnosed with, and I finally got my biopsy and the results ended up being cancer. And I went and got staged. It was stage 3 breast cancer. At the time that I felt that initial lump surface at the top, very small, cancer was contained. In the month, it grew to a mass. And at this point, I was having everybody at work just partially manic at that point, but not partially, I can't describe it, because had I known it was cancer, I would not have made light of it. But I remember that same coworker going back to her and even a few more. And I said to them, you have to cup your hand like a C, because this mass had grown so big. But I just knew it wasn't cancer because I had already interviewed my coworkers. Some said, oh, my wife had a biopsy. It was nothing. They said, well, cancer doesn't hurt. No, cancer does not hurt. So when I pressed on it, I said, well, yeah, it does hurt. So they're like, well, cancer doesn't hurt. So many reasons why, oh, I've had 3 biopsies. It's nothing. Reasons why it was not cancer. And lo and behold, it was cancer. And at the time I was diagnosed, stage 3.
And Tangie, I don't know how you feel about this. Tell the audience, how old are you?
I'm 40 years old. I have hit my.
And when you found out about this, you were how old?
35 years old.
35. Now, I vividly remember the day you were told.
I do too.
It was almost like an out of body experience for me, if for lack of better words, for me to even convey what I'm trying to say. But I remember being in the hallway or something, and a male coworker of ours who was very instrumental in helping. You were coming in the door from outside on my hallway. And I didn't know what the situation was at the time. And then another coworker beckoned for me to come. And when I got into the setting where you were in a classroom next to mine. And you were in fetal position on the floor.
Let me tell you that, babe. I do. Let me set that up before, and I will let you continue. Once we get, I will set it up, and then we'll get right back to that point, and you pick up right there. So I had gone in after I gotten my biopsy and the results, the biopsy. I had my biopsy. I went into the doctor about a week later and paid my $35 copay and went to see the doctor. Now I'm still at my primary care physician. And he said to me, Tangie, the results aren't in yet. And I said, well, why would you call me in? I just paid my $35 copay. And then I said, oh, you know what? I'm not coming back to pay another $35 copay. I said, whatever the results are, just call me. Just call me. And on the day I was diagnosed, May 20th, 2016, I was at work, co-teaching in the resource setting this day, working with a couple of students, and he called. At work. He should have said, Tangie, if you don't bring your broke self in here, we gotta talk. But when I look back at it now, I had a lot of support at work.
Yeah, the support, yeah.
And so he called me at work and he said, Tangie, this is Dr. So-and-so, and the results are in, and it's cancer. And there is nothing that can hit you like those words. It's not like hepatitis where you figure out, is it A, B, C? Which one of those are the deadly, dangerous? No, it's cancer. They say the word cancer is recognizable in over 7 countries. It doesn't matter the language that you speak. When you hear it, you know right away, oh boy, we're in some trouble. And I remember getting the call and just started backing away from the phone. And he said, Ms. Rahming, it's okay. We're gonna get you on some chemotherapy and some radiation and you'll be fine. And in that moment, I was just like, I don't know about that, and neither do you, in my head. And I started backing away from the phone and getting my keys, and my coworker took over the phone, started talking to the doctor, and I left. I just knew I needed to get out of the building, go to my car. As I left out of the building, walking down the hallway, and I'm in a elementary school setting, so there's constantly children and teachers everywhere. As I was walking down the hallway, I ran into that male coworker. He was talking with someone else, and he was aware something is off.
Yeah.
Tangie is normally chatty, smiling, full of energy, and I'm just wild-eyed, gotta get out the building. And he kind of, instead of me coming out the front of the school, he directed me to go out through the rear of the school. I said, I just need to get to my car. And so he was like, Ms. Rahming, what's going on? What's happening? And in asking all these questions, and he was one of those colleagues that I had co-taught with, so I had a relationship with him for at least 2 to 3 years at that point. But he was also one of the coworkers who said, my wife had a biopsy, it's no big deal. And he said, what's going on? And I said, for the first time out of my mouth, it's cancer. Oh, I was so upset and pissed. And he proceeded to take me around the back of the school, which would still lead me to the front of the parking lot, because it was my goal to get out of there. And as I'm going around, we passed the entrance to get in. And he says, Ms. Rahming, just come and sit with me for a little bit. And I said, I gotta get to my car. But the way he was trying to coax and steer me, the only way to not take a minute to breathe. And he was such a calming, stabilized force.
Yes,
many other areas, that I have.
God have mercy.
And talked and poured my heart out in times past where I couldn't rebuff him. And so he walked me into the building. We came into the classroom, and I remember opening the windows to his room. the window and just screaming out of the window. And he said, Miss Rahming, do you need some water? And of course, you know, when you're in times of crises, people are always offering you a glass of water. I don't understand that. Do you want some water? And I'm like, no, I don't want any water. And then when I come in, and right away I start doing all this self-talking, but cancer is not supposed to hurt. How will it be hurt? Oh my God, I couldn't find, I had trouble finding a man as it was. I would never find a husband now, dear God, help me. I thought to myself, well, you don't even make your bed every day. How will you manage cancer? And I found myself on the floor, rocking with all these thoughts, just talking, babbling to myself. And that teacher said, Miss Rahming, don't worry, you might need a second opinion. Just get a second opinion. And I said, nah, I got this thing here. And it was just a lot of talk.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, Tangie on the floor in a classroom, a dark classroom. I don't even know what happened to that teacher and his students at the time. And here we go, insert Dr. Marcy Simmons.
Well, as Tangie was saying, I saw you when you came back into the building, but I didn't know.
I didn't even realize that.
I did. And nurse, I guess she sent somebody to beckon for me, but another teacher came and said, we need you right now, Dr. Simmons. And I don't think I had a class at the time. I don't think I did. And I didn't know what was going on, but when I got into the classroom, you were in fetal position on the floor. And nurse was there saying, she said, Simmons, I can't do it. She was so hurt. No, she was hurt seeing you. And in that moment, I'm going to wait. In that moment, God told me I couldn't break, that I could not break down. That I had to be the person to speak life to you. And I never understood until after I got off that floor. I'm sorry, y'all. Well, no, I'm not sorry. These are human emotions.
It's so interesting to hear what's going on in the mind of that other person.
Yeah,
as this is happening.
I just looked at the face of my colleagues, only two in the room, and you on that floor. And I got on the floor next to you. And I just whispered some stuff in your ear. I think I laid my hands on your head and I began to pray. And I said, this is not unto death. You remember that?
That's the only thing I remember. As I remember that, this will not be unto death. I thought you shouted that. Do you know, I did not know you were near me. I did not. So as I'm hearing this, and this is the first time I'm hearing this from Dr. Simmons' point of view like this, I thought you shouted that. I thought you were at the door. I did not know you were near me or as close as you were, or that you whispered that, which is so amazing because I heard it loud and clear, extremely loud and clear, with all power and all might.
It was not. It was a whisper. And
that's all I heard.
And that's all I could say. After I prayed, that's what came out. This is not unto death. And I don't even know what happened after. I just got up off the floor.
Well, I will jump back in here. Here's what I will say. When I first heard, which is all I heard, so I didn't hear the prayer, I didn't realize you were close to me. In my state, distressed state, I heard, this will not be unto death. In that moment, here is what I heard. I heard her say that, and here's how I interpreted it. And then about a year or two later, I came back to you and
You did.
said, here's what I now understand. When I heard Dr. Simmons say, this will not be unto death, in my while rocking back and forth, I heard, this can lead to death. I know that's not what you said. I heard what you said, but in my soul, my first thought was, oh, wait, I thought I was just gonna lose my boobs. You're right, cancer kills. Oh my Lord. And I just started spazzing out some more. It was after, and those words never left me. It was about a year after everything. I came back to Dr. Simmons, who was our music teacher in the building. I always come up there to talk and be encouraged because she was, I don't know how to say it, she was just always so lively and sexy and attractive, and she's just on her grind always. And you know, I'm forever seeking support wherever I can get it. And I was just like, so I've gone to her for many things. Like, she's just been such a, you know, puller upper. And I had to go back and say, when you first said that to me, I didn't understand the magnitude of what you were saying. I was only thinking in the negative. I was only thinking, I didn't realize that in that moment, you courageously prophesied and spoke life over me and bravely over my situation. And I had to come back and say, man, thank you so much. And the quiet prayers of those all around you that I didn't even realize or hear.
They were, but you know, that's one reason I was weeping a moment ago, because when you start feeling the awesomeness of God and how He orchestrated, I'm in my classroom. Who would have thought they would have come and said, we need you now? Because the two women that were in the room are praying women too. They're praying women. So, but in that moment, God needed me to do it. And which leads me to this. I now understand why He needed me to do it. My mother is a breast cancer survivor. And to be honest with you, I didn't shed any tears because it was like, you know, my mom kept going. She went to work every day. She went and got her treatments, drove herself there, and then drove back to work. So my mother never skipped a beat. And that's how I knew it wasn't unto death, because my mother never, if you looked at her, you never would have known. You never would have known. And I do remember when she went through it, she was very careful about who she even told it to. Because when you are going through something, you don't need somebody, oh Lord, I'm sorry. You need somebody who is believing God with you. Agreed. And sometimes, you know, we mean well, but we can say some crazy stuff out of our mouths that is not in line with what God has said about the person. And that day, He told me, it is not unto death. So I knew without a shadow of doubt, you were going to come through it. Now, you went through your different moments now. So let's talk about that. And I think when you told me you came back to me, I remember it was after you had gone through one of those moments of, why is this going on? Why is this going on? And God finally told you what was going on. So can we talk a little bit about the journey now? You've gotten the diagnosis. Now, what are some things you've gone through emotionally, spiritually, and physically regarding the diagnosis?
Okay, well, we'll talk about some losses and then some gains. One of my initial losses, I had went for those, I mean, I guess not all your listeners are from Atlanta, but the dating market here is rather tight. very tight.
I remember you
You don't
saying
come to
it.
Atlanta with your own man. If you don't come with him, if y'all don't come together, good luck when you get here. If you come by yourself. I had recently joined a Christian website, had met what I thought was just a wonderful male suitor. And we were, I guess, unofficially dating for about 6 weeks. And when I tell my story, it actually starts on May 19th. Mind you, I was diagnosed May 20th. May 19th, the guy asked me officially, Tangie, where have you been all my life? Blah, 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 blah. 6 weeks, you know? And, you know, I like to be formally asked, you know, there's no assumptions anywhere.
As you should.
Around of that day, he had said or referenced me as a girlfriend. And I said, oh, you got a girlfriend? And he was like, Tangie. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, because I don't remember being asked. Right?
I don't remember being asked. That's right.
I don't remember being asked. I don't want to assume in this day and age. And he formally asked me to be his girlfriend. That's May 19th, 2016. May 20th, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when I got diagnosed, I always saw that Cancer Treatment Center of America commercial. And as a young girl in my 20s, and I said, if anything ever happened to me, I think I'm going to call them. That facility is gorgeous. And I got diagnosed with cancer. And I called the Cancer Treatment Center of America that Monday and got accepted into their treatment center. And then it takes about a week to get staging. So all I knew initially was that Tangie had breast cancer, and now I have to find out the stage. And in this week of staging, I am wholly consumed with, oh my goodness, I have cancer. And I shared it with the gentleman. Do you know, less than 10 days later, that fella, as my godmom would say, he said that it appears that I'm being consumed with cancer. And I said, my God, I just got diagnosed. What do you mean? Said that he felt we were moving too fast. And I said, well, we haven't gone past first base. How fast is it? I mean, my goodness. And that man was gone, just as gone. Over the years, I look back and I say, I understand. Oftentimes people themselves are scared. And some people slow down to look at a car wreck. Other people speed up. I myself would prefer to have not been a part of the wreckage.
Right.
I mean, I had long, beautiful locks back then. I mean, I had not started chemo. I had not lost one drop of hair or weight. Gone. All right, so there we go. Moving forward, Tangie gets staged, gets chemo. I had these long, beautiful locks where if I tilt my head back, I can touch my hair from the lower part, the base of my back. And myself, a coworker, one of my special education lead teacher, shaved my head off. Prior to chemo, we decided to just cut my hair. And I ended up having 15 rounds of chemo, 25 rounds of radiation. I had surgery to remove a lump in my breast. So starting off with chemo, round 1, round 2, I wasn't sure. Some people choose to get their breast cut off first. The Cancer Treatment Center of America thought it was best to apply chemo first and see if they could get the tumor to shrink, because at this point it was a large mass, like I stated earlier. And the doctor said, well, it depends on how your body responds to chemo, whether or not you'd have to lose your breast, what would be the next course of action. And I said, well, what factors help you determine? What factors contribute to that? I don't know. It's basically you and God in this conversation, getting your port placed and then getting to the point where you have to sit in that chair. Oh, I must show you my port scar. Check this out. When I see cancer survivors, I go to them and I have this scar I'm about to show you in a second. And I say, so you got your port placed? Did you get chemo? And I said, let me see your scar. Do you mind if I see your scar? And I have the largest port scar that can you see that?
Wow, we can see it.
Now, do you know that I got this scar removed, and then it came back even worse because I have keloid skin. And so the beauty of this scar is that I've never met anyone with a worse port scar. So I'm able to say, wow, what a beautiful scar you have. Oh, you got that good skin, girl. I said, look at this thing here. And they look at it and they're like, I'm like, yeah, this is just and I thought to get this scar revised again. And I said, no, that's all right. This is part of my entry as I'm talking to someone and going with their chemotherapy and their journey. Chemotherapy was arduous. I had a coworker to call me and she cried. I hadn't started any chemo yet. I thought chemo was just medicine. She says, Miss Rahming, I'm so sorry that you're going to have to endure this. Chemo is going to be very hard. And I could not understand hard. I'm sick. I'm going to get medicine. I'm going to get better. Up to that point, I knew what it was like to have the flu, a cold, severe cramps. That's about it. Suffered some emotional losses earlier on, but not any physical maladies that, chemotherapy.
Yeah.
So toxic. And I think along the way, in me picking up survivor sisters along the way, someone called me and said, Tangie, my sister just got diagnosed a couple of weeks ago. Do you mind talking to her? She doesn't sound as lively and as energetic and enthusiastic as you do. And I want to be like, oh, that's because some screws have loosened right up. They just just were loose. Because to look at this thing head on, it is rather graphic, frightening. And just a sidebar, I'd like to note all the men that I had my interests at the time, that I liked, loved, compromised God's good standards for.
They left.
Gone. Ooh, I'm so sorry. Let me not cut up. Gone, just as gone. And I will say that the women in my lives at that time, sometimes with our female friends, we get a bit impatient, so quick to tell a woman, girl, leave me alone, get out my face, I'm tired of this, telling them to kiss your what's it not, as my mother would say, or send them to Hades or whatever it is, just out your slick mouth. And I used to regard the opposite sex. They just floated. I mean, when they walked, they floated. They had a halo that was just affixed above them. But in my time of gross sickness, not male bashing in the least, just making an observation, it was my female friends to pray for me, to make baths for me. I would come home from work and my house would be clean. Groceries in the fridge I did not buy, clothes laundered. They looked my cancer in the eye. They still saw Tangie, and they supported and they prayed and they encouraged, and they bought me chicken wings and hot fries when I wasn't supposed to be eating them. And I had to relearn and reappreciate and to honor the females in my life that I had left neglected in whatever hot pursuit I had at the time, for the alternative. Yes.
Well, I know you have such an awesome testimony, period. But even out of that, I remember you coming and saying to me one day, oh, I do makeup, or I'm starting this, something you were doing, initiative for the cancer patients, where you were going to go around and make them up, make them pretty.
And you were always so fancy with your eyeshadow and stuff. So that's how I think makeup, you were consistently looking nice every day. I could look nice maybe once or twice a week at best. And you were just consistently looking nice every day. And you would always have your eyeshadow, your eye makeup was constantly on point. And somehow along the way, we got into that conversation.
Well, I will say this. I was just taught that way. Females don't come out of the house looking in a kind of way. I just told my daughter that we don't go out. We don't go out looking in a kind of way. She was like, Mom, we're just going to go to the car in the yard. I said, I'm not even going to the car in the yard looking in a kind of way. We just don't do that. But I thought that was so amazing because you discovered through this journey that women who desired to look a certain way had lost their hair in cases. And you said, okay, well, we can still look beautiful. Because I remember when your hair came out, you went to making up your face. And I said, oh, you're just so pretty. So talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So the day I lost my hair, a couple of nights before, I had severe headaches, very strong headaches. This might be maybe round 4 or 5 of chemotherapy for me. I had a certain type of drug that required me to get chemotherapy weekly for 12 rounds. And that was called Taxol and carboplatin. Can't forget those. And around round 4, my hair got really hot, severe headaches, having to put rags on my head. And I was in Florida visiting my sister, and she's a clean, neat freak, always has been. And I remember going to take a shower, and when I did the washcloth like this, and I looked, I said, wait, my sister gave me a dirty rag? And I said, no, she'd never give me never. It's just not her makeup. And I looked close, and it was the hair coming off of my arm. Away, I'm like, oh, my hair. And even though I had shaved my head, I had a little bit of hair, like a low fade. And I remember just plucking like a little pull, and it was coming out. And I said, oh Lord, it's starting to happen. And by the time I came out of that shower, I was almost a clean bald cat. That hair just all over, completely bald. The thing, and over time, my eyebrows came off, my eyelashes. When you look at a cancer patient and you wonder, why do we all look alike? Well, you have hair on your face that frames your face. And I had a coworker to tell me, as my eyebrows were thinning, she said, Tangie, whoever you're going to, they're taking too much off the top. And I said, girl, I'm on chemo. What are you talking about? They're taking too much off the top. It's falling out. Anyway, as I still tried, and in the early phases of chemo, you still have some measure of energy to you before completely depleted, and you can't do anything, much less makeup. But in those early stages, I was still able to do my makeup. And when you put makeup on, now that you're shiny bald, you have a hairline where you generally stop makeup. And then it was the oddest thing to not have a hairline, but you need a hairline for makeup, or you need some type of, and in the end, putting the makeup on and then just doing this, the makeup just all over, because you don't have any, you don't have a hairline. So, but yes. And then after I got better, so I was bald, did makeup as long as I could. Now I'm super sick with chemo and then all the other stuff that goes with it. And now I'm on the other side of my journey. And I used to say things I used to say. I used to see cancer survivors who their hair grows back like little peach fuzz. And that used to annoy me when I saw it on other survivors. And I said, man, why would they just not shave that until it grows in thick? When I tell you I went how many months being bald, and hair growth, no matter what, is signs of life, rejuvenation. You should have saw me with my little peach fuzz, combing, brushing, styling, washing. The hair was like, you could barely see it. And I was just so proud. And more than anything, when I was sick, it was, man, when I get better, I'm going to do this. Just like when I get better, I can barely walk now, but when I get better, I'm going to start jogging. It was a lot of when I get better. And one of the reasons, sidebar, that I stopped going to church at the time, because I realized I was scaring the saints. I wanted to interject earlier when you mentioned how people's view of you or the words that they allow to come out of their mouth, and I know they don't mean harm, but we're listening. Oftentimes, you're a cute girl or not based on the feedback of others, what they say, how they look at you, even if they're nonverbal cues, you feel, and I was in church one day listening to the sermon, and as a cancer patient, there are pockets of time where you forget that you have cancer and you're just a regular person in church enjoying the sermon. And after church, someone stopped me and she said, "Oh, Tangie, I almost didn't recognize you. You look so different." And I said, "Oh, thank you." I often don't recognize myself anymore. And I used to always feel the need to follow up by saying, "But that's okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to make it." Right? And she looked at me with a look that said, "Are you sure?" And in that moment, I was no longer sure. And that was the last day I went to church for a very long time, because I'm either frightening them, they are now frightening me. And I'm not sure, but I'm trying to cling and hold on to faith. And on the other side of the journey, it became important for me to look nice all the time, which is not, it's so false. So I want to highlight it. Yes. So Tangie learned how to do makeup because she was a bald cat, which is, that's the truth at the end of the day. Cancer turned me into a bald cat. And so I had to really get into my YouTube videos to learn how to frame and arch my eyebrows and to bring some type of life that not only did not frighten myself, but others after my energy got better. So this is after chemo had ended. We're moving into surgery and radiation phases of my journey. But yes, and as a result, I got into makeup kind of hard. I picked up Survivor Sisters, continued to pick up Survivor Sisters along the way, was able to go to the cancer center and meet people, those who came in by themselves, looked alone, looked like they needed encouragement. At this point, I have about a year under my belt, and was able to do their makeup and do photo shoots at the cancer center and encourage them and inspire them through humor and levity, So yes, that is my thing. It has become my thing, I guess, up until the pandemic, when you're not allowed to just be less than 6 feet breathing on a person. But I also want to say this too. I used to talk a lot of stuff about women who were natural, who weren't natural. When I was 21 years old, I had shaved my head off, shaved my perm off, and had natural hair. And I've always been locked, and by God's grace, I'm growing my second set of locks. But I had a lot of things to say always about women who wore wigs and weaves and extensions and lace fronts, just a lot of commentary up until I got sick. And in my journey, sometimes the only thing cute on me was my nails that I tried to keep up with, or maybe a pair of earrings when chemotherapy just dragged my looks to the floor. And I realized whatever a woman needs, because I was still a woman, I was a 35-year-old woman, not that old. Whatever a woman needs to feel and look beautiful and gorgeous and unto herself, this feeling. I wish all I had was a wig to put on and that could do the trick. And so I realized over time as I got to talk, because one health crisis allows me to talk to another person with another health crisis, that people have all types of sicknesses and issues that you know nothing about. And it is none of your business.
Right.
You don't know whether they're on a certain medication that is thinning their hair. And I just realized whatever that woman needs to feel, you're still a woman,
like a woman,
young woman, an old woman, a middle-aged woman.
That's right.
You are still a woman, and it is so important that whatever that means to you, however you interpret that, that what that looks like to you, that you're free to do without the commentary and the judgment of others.
That's right.
Yes, I could say that. Yeah.
So, I know we're running out of time, but I just want to commend you for paying attention to that creative side in you, even through this struggle period. And the best creativity, I always say this, comes out of testing and challenge and trial. That's where the best creativity can be crushed out. And then it begins to flow, and so I thank you, first of all, for even desiring to walk in a purpose that is greater than a diagnosis of cancer, to help encourage and inspire others. And I might add, you are beautiful today. You always look, you will always be so pretty, and you have survived.
It's a journey that I never chose. Of course, you'd never want to choose this.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got to the cancer center, I said, look at all these cancer patients, look at them. And I remember asking someone, I said, are you a regular person? Because I'm a regular person. You must be living some different type of way. Are you just a regular Joe Blow? And this guy said, yeah, just regular dude. Like, wait, so cancer happens to regular people? I could not conceive and wrap my head around this. And I could say this. I had a colleague to be diagnosed at work. 12 o'clock at midnight, she read her file, and maybe 3 years ago now, she read her file at midnight, and they had already put on her file that she had cancer. So she read it in the dark by herself and came to work the very next day. And as she was telling me this story, someone said, go get Miss Rahming. Oh, she's been through that, and she was gallant in her efforts. Go get Miss Rahming. And as I went into the cafeteria that morning to get her, it was the first time that I was glad for my diagnosis. It was the first time that I said, yes, pick me. Oh, I got this. We could do this. We're going to do this together. You're going to be fine. I had my person in the building that I went to, who was also a breast cancer survivor, who would encourage me when I got weak, and she directly knew what I was going through. Now I was that person that was able to be that for that person. And because of this journey, which, like Dr. Simmons prophesied from the very beginning, because this pronouncement was not to be unto death, then the question has always been, well, what was it for? Oh my gosh, that was arduous. And even life after cancer, with getting your mind right. I was on sleeping pills, anxiety medication, the fear of reoccurrence, so much. But I have begun to focus my energy. And since then, when I tell you every now and again, I get the call. Could you call and talk to someone? Could you call and encourage them? And can you joke with them and tease them? And I never quite know, well, is it going to work this time? If I call, will it be a connection this time? And each and every time, I said, girl, I believe when you get diagnosed, certain tragedies, which seeming tragedies, I roll out the red carpet for my survivors. I remember I had to recently take a survivor sister to Gwinnett on a Sunday. And she says, Tangie, I'm going to pay you for the ride over 50 miles to the doctor's office on a Sunday. We had to go to a branch that was open. And I said, girl, I said, when you get better, I'm going to dry all this up, just like all the loving. My friends are still loving, but now that I'm better, I said, girl, when you will be fine. I said, until then, I'm here for you to support you, love you. I recently purchased a home. I have been able to bless by having survivor sisters sleep and stay in my home. I'm a teacher. I've been there to support their children academically along the way. It's been remarkable how you figure out, what do you do now? 40, still unmarried, no children. What is my purpose? What am I here for? Can't get much cuter for whoever's out there. But he is, Dr. Simmons, can you not see the growth?
Yes, I can. I'm hearing the growth in you. I am.
There's nothing more I can say.
And I'm leaping inside because I do hear it. I do hear it.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I told God from the beginning, I said, I'm not sure what restoration is going to look like. I said, you have your job cut out for you. But he is restored.
My God.
Bountifully. One of the effects of chemotherapy is what they call chemo brain. When I had to stop working as a teacher, so I've been a teacher since I was 21 years old. I got diagnosed with cancer, started chemo, and my principal allowed me to come back to work. Mm-hmm. And right around this time, round 8 of chemo, round 9, I started taking half a days. I used to work from 8 to 11. And then I would go in my office and nap to get the energy to drive home. On this particular day, and I already work with students with special needs, mm-hmm. I was working with a small group in the rear of the room, and I could no longer scan to find the answers to a reading comprehension passage. And this was 3rd grade. And as I began looking for the answers, I realized my brain is chipping out. And I stood up in fright and I said, something's happening to my brain. Something's happening, I can't find the answers. Here I am out the building again in tears, met with 2 colleagues and by my car. And it was the next day, I took the next day off. And then the next day I came to my principal and I told her, I said, I think the time has come. Something's happening to my brain. I'm losing my health. And now my brain, something's happening, my processing. I remember going into Publix and having to ask someone, could you help me find the sour cream? I had lost my ability to scan. It was just too much information. Mm-hmm. And my principal, she said, Ms. Rahming, now when you go, we don't want you to come back until you're all the way better. Because at this point, I was just hobbling along.
Trying to hold on.
And she said, don't worry, we're going to pray for you. Your job will still be here. And I said, but the doctor says, based on my treatment plan, that I'm not going to, because chemotherapy was 5 months by itself. She says, and then radiation was another month and a half and surgery. I said, they say I'm not going to be better. This was September. I said, the treatment plan says I'm not going to be better till about March. And she said, then we'll see you in the spring. Mm-hmm. And I clung to that. And I'm just so grateful to be back into the spring, mm-hmm. into the swing of things, to be into the spring of my life. Mm-hmm. One of the things I did, and I'm almost done the story, but one of the things I did was re-enroll back in school. Between my bachelor's and my master's, 10 years. 10 years. I came to Atlanta at 28 years old with just a bachelor's, right? Mm-hmm. And got a master's a couple years later in special ed. And here I am diagnosed with cancer 5 years later. And I challenged myself and I started a specialist degree in special education 2 years after being diagnosed. Completed that degree. Yeah. I'm not sure if I shared, I'm starting my doctorate.
You didn't tell me that.
Yes. Excellent. I got enrolled, I got accepted.
Excellent.
Actually, I got accepted this summer. So I'm in my 2nd semester.
Excellent.
Purchased a home. When I got diagnosed with cancer, I had less than $3,000 saved and about 12 sick days because I used them for headaches and stupid stuff. And I learned how to save along the way. And he is just blessed and blessed and blessed. Coming back from chemotherapy, driving back from a basement. I moved into someone's basement.
I remember.
And the school helped me move into that basement. And I stayed there. And after I got better, I was reluctant to leave that basement. It was such a safe haven for me. And I would drive from the cancer center, from my home in Douglasville in that basement, to the cancer center in Noonan, and found a lovely subdivision that I used to drive in and look around and fantasize. I remember calling the number and finding out, well, what's the cost to buy a home here? And call some of the realtors, and I was like, oh, there's no way. There's no way. Do you know that dream, that desire? When you get diagnosed with cancer, I used to dream in such a limited fashion. But when you're on the brink or the cusp of death, no dream seems out of the question at this point. You're not sure about tomorrow. Why not dream big? And I was able to, only with God's grace, to be able to purchase a home in the same subdivision that, I guess that's my cue to stop, same subdivision that I used to fantasize about. So he has just worked it all out so much more. No matter what I go through now, I think to myself, Tangie, what can you not believe God for?
There's no limit.
When my heart trembles at times,
there's no limit.
Because there's still a lot of emotional upheaval, life after cancer. But what can you not believe God for? I praise God for science. I praise God for technology. But God literally, as a gift, rolled my life back to me because of his grace. I will end on this. There is a hymn that I love. I wouldn't dare attempt to sing it. But here's the first verse. It says, I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. But
the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. From the waters lifted me. Now safe am I. My God.
When nothing else can help, that'll do it. Love.
Listen, let me tell you something. Tangie, thank you so much for this. I pray that it encourages someone, inspires someone. Matter of fact, I know it's going to. I know it's going to. And just be encouraged, audience, that all of us have gone through some little thing in our lives that didn't feel good, that caused us to be fearful. However, if you stick to God and his plans for your life, you will see out of it flows many things that lead to life. So I am just elated to hear how well you're doing and how beautiful you are. And keep moving in your purpose, Tangie. Oh, you haven't seen all yet. None of us have. There's more to come. Now, Tangie, I thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And is there any way if somebody wants to contact you to speak to a group of survivors or anything, any information you can give?
If they could reach out to you. I'm not on any social media.
I remember you said that. So she's doing something out of her comfort zone, people, to do this today. So I love talking in a group. If you want to reach out to Tangie, contact me. And like I say every week on the Connecting Point, you may reach me at integrativeartscreations.com. You may send an email, integrativearts@att.net. You may look up Dr. Marcy's Connections. Any of those avenues. It's on Facebook. We also have a group of creators who are moving and winning called the Connecting Point for Creators Group. If you would like to be a part of that, you are free to look us up on Facebook and join. It's just a place where we inspire each other and promote each other and have words of encouragement on a daily basis. So look that up. This show airs on Instagram TV and YouTube on Tuesdays nights at 7. You can also now see it on KBNC TV on Wednesday nights at 7. So again, look us up. Thank you, Tangie. Love you, girl. Keep doing what you're doing. All right, until we have this